Hello and welcome to NXT. I know you're taking power out, but unfortunately, with the power surge tonight, Zach decided that it's best to take a week off. So Zach, recover from your trip to Edmonton. Hope you guys had the show. I know our own Cody was down there at the Love Wrestling Change the Game event. We still haven't seen it, so I still think I outpicked you. But we'll have to wait for the official results once me and Pluggo get to watch the show. We know that you've claimed victory, but just like in a regular U.S. election, you got to wait till all the results come in before we can go ahead and declare you the winner.
Lies. Let's start declaring the winner as soon as you get to a point where the next guy can't catch up, and we cross that on Friday.
But we don't know that. Me and Pluggo have no idea.
Dun, dun, dun.
But that being said, welcome to NXT, where we spill the tea on NXT. And today's going to be a very interesting episode because I think we all had the same opinion. This was a kind of meh episode of NXT.
For the first time since we've went 2.0, I was just not feeling this episode. And it may be their fault. It may just be they didn't really put anything on to capture me. It may also be my own fault because I haven't slept probably since that Love Wrestling show on Friday night. So little of A, little of B. I don't know. There was a little bit. There were some lines. There were little bits and pieces here I enjoyed. But overall, I think it was the low spot of NXT 2.0 to this point.
Astrid?
Yeah, I feel like I didn't have I was not concentrated on it like I usually am. Usually focused when I'm watching it. And I feel like it was meh. And then I thought about it and I'm like, well, this is the go home show before Halloween Havoc. So they should have gone at least the extra mile kind of to present us this show next week, especially be like a special edition of NXT. But I feel like it doesn't feel like a go home kind of show for a special edition, I say.
I want to say I think this is the first week where we felt the absence of Triple H. I think this is an episode where we missed Triple H's attention to detail, and we have people who are here running the show who are kind of focused on Crown Jewel and getting ready for Friday Night SmackDown this upcoming week, where they have all the rosters set and getting ready for SmackDown and Raw and Crown Jewel. And I think that's kind of taken the focus of some of the people who are helping step in while Triple H is still recovering from his surgery and procedure for the heart problem that he had run into. By the way, before we get any further, just want to go ahead and thank our sponsors, RK Athletics. Rich King was in the Battle Royal at the Love Wrestling Change the Game show. He's also wrestled a couple times since then, but make sure you follow RK Athletics 1 on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those fun places. RK Athletics does great one-on-one training virtually and in person, and they help you with all of your personal training needs. So definitely go ahead and make sure that you give him a follow because he does great content on Twitter that I like to follow about trying to keep myself motivated. It hasn't started working yet, but I like the content. Gonna go ahead and throw the ticker of all of our different places that you can find Love Wrestling and all the different places. But yeah, getting back to this week's NXT, we all said none of us could really keep full focus. Astrid, what's one thing that stuck out to you this week on NXT?
I think the part with Legado del Fantasma attacking JBBJ and then the match itself, I feel like finally we get them out of hit row, which is kind of rare now to see for me. But yeah, I just like that they have something new and let's see how it goes with them. So far it's been good with that match, so I want to see what else happens next, or maybe Halloween Havoc they get to face each other in one of those spin the wheel matches too. It's just a start of something new now, so it's fresh for me.
Cody, what are your thoughts? Oh, no, Cody's doing it. Cody, what are your thoughts on the Legado del Fantasma stuff?
Just taking stuff out of my dog's mouth. It's fine.
It's okay.
The Legado stuff, I definitely had the same thought as Astrid there. Putting JBBJ with possibly Trey Baxter and Cora Jade, it just felt like they were just trying to mimic the same kind of thing they had with the tag team, a singles competitor and a female, to just fit the dynamic of Legado. They still had more story to tell with that 4-person team. And so they're just finding any 4 warm bodies to fill the hole that's left by Hit Row moving up. I'm not opposed to it because I like the dynamic of what all of those characters have to offer that I mean, Cora got her match against Elektra today that we can touch on now or we can touch on later, but the upset that she pulled, the upset she pulled over Elektra. Second time now we've seen Cora Jade, upset in a match where we weren't sure or didn't actually expect her to win. You've got Trey Baxter I know him more from his time and what he was doing on NJPW Strong, but he's a very talented competitor that can definitely probably put on a great match with a Santos Escobar. And then Briggs and Jensen against Mendoza and Wild is an excellent tag match. And again, that's something else we got to see today that they put it on. They mostly put it clean, but there was enough interference by Santos and Elektra that you can still come back and say, hey, we're going to do this again and maybe do it in different pairings or do it in a different style or anything like that and tell the same match in a different story in the future and have it still be interesting and unique to me.
Yeah, I was going to focus on two things as we're talking about Legado del Fantasma. I was going to focus on the Elektra Lopez and Cora Jade stuff. But let's also focus on Santos Escobar cutting a promo on the new North American champion, Carmelo Hayes, and where he tells him he's the luckiest son of a bitch that walks on this earth. Loved it. I love that Santos isn't just moving into something new and forgetting that he wanted that title. I love how he's like, I want your title, but hey, we have a family here and we have to do other things. And since I can't have you because you're occupied in something else, which we'll talk about in a little bit because it was fantastic, he goes ahead and beats up Trey Baxter because Cora Jade defeated Elektra Lopez. And then you get JBBJ trying to break it all up. And you get them versus a tag team. And it kind of fits. It's like, oh, cool. Santos has got something new. Somebody different for him to work with who fits his style. Like Cody says, this, Trey Baxter versus Santos Escobar is going to be a fantastic wrestling match if given the time that it deserves. So I really like where they're headed with all these things because they've realized, oh, look, we don't have Hit Row. Let's make a change. And they've made a good change, and I like it.
Yeah.
Cody, what was your favorite thing and your takeaway from NXT this week?
So it's twofold, and it all ties around the two kind of teams that are feuding other than Legado and what we just talked about. And it started with Diamond Mine, that they were the first kind of thing that really struck with me today. And it was such a simple thing as Malcolm Bivens cutting a promo on the walk between Gorilla and the entranceway. And just cutting that promo about how the Creed brothers have been doing everything, which, I mean, they've had, 2 matches? I wouldn't call that everything, but basically putting them over that they deserve a title match because they've been so dominant since arriving in NXT. And instead, it's time that instead of trying to just prove that they deserve it, they're going to come out and take it. They came out, they had their match with Imperium, and then the Kushida and Jiro stuff, and the fact that Kushida and Jiro are still tied up with Diamond Mine. I really enjoyed how, that's how you give the Creed brothers their first loss. You have that disruption, that interference, distraction, whatever we want to call it, from Jiro and Kushida on the outside. Creed brothers get caught by the veteran, experienced, more talented team in Imperium, who probably are in a better position to take that title shot. And then later on in the night, though, kind of coming full circle and telling even more of the story, we had an excellent segment back in the bathroom where Ickham and
You
Jiro,
say excellent. I was a little bit concerned about this segment, but we'll go with that.
Where Ickham and Jiro comes into the bathroom as Kushida's taking a leak.
Yep.
Scares the crap out of him. That luckily Kushida had his hand in the right place so that he, got it put away before he turned around. Jiro starts talking about how he's the biggest fan of Kushida, and he's so excited to get to team with his hero, and then dumps Kushida's entire suitcase out in the middle of the bathroom floor, and pulls out the Marty McFly jacket and holds it out for Kushida to put on. And we finally get, for the first time in what feels like forever, Kushida puts the jacket back on, he puts the glasses on, he plays with his bracelet, and we get the black light, which I don't know if I've ever seen a bathroom that would look that good under a black light, but we'll go with it. But I'm excited because I feel like Kushida is so much more talented than what we've got to see in NXT to this point. I've been a huge detractor of what NXT has been doing with Kushida, that if we are actually getting back to the future Kushida finally, and they can do it justice, because I think Ikemen Jiro is the perfect sidekick to play that role with him. That dynamic of Back to the Future Kushida with Jiro against the tough, serious workmanship, like workers' ethic and effort from Diamond Mine is going to be such an excellent dynamic that I just want that on my TV right now. But I also want it to play out to the point that it just drives me wild before I get it.
Astrid, your thoughts on the everything involved with Diamond Mine and Ikemen Jiro and Imperium and everything?
Yeah, the promo from Malcolm. Yeah, I'm like, it's a usual Malcolm promo, so I always love listening to him do his promos. But yeah, from the beginning, I was expecting Diamond Mine to win it because I was not expecting them to lose like momentum like that. But at the same time, I thought about it. I'm like, recently, a lot of the younger guys have been going against like the vets of NXT, and the vets are actually winning the matches and not the young guys. So I'm like, maybe I should have thought about Imperium winning from the beginning. But I feel like with the distraction, there's always still like that story to tell, and there's more going on in there than what we had so far, which is great. Yeah, the bathroom part, I didn't think it was excellent. That was kind of weird at first. I was not expecting that. I'm like, I was like, is he in the? Oh, yes, he is. Okay. And then I'm like, that's the timing of everything. But yeah, having them together, it's a great pair for me. I like watching them on TV. So, but them on my TV every single week. I like that pair so far. So let's see how that goes with it from now on.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, but I'm going to try to focus on something we haven't talked about much. I'm going to focus on Imperium. This is a great way to get Imperium a big win, to get them back to MSK, to go ahead and let the Creed brothers lose a match in a way that makes sense, even though they have the numbers. The confusion distraction finish with Ikemen Jiro and them coming out and attacking Diamond Mine to get everybody's attention that way, to then get the roll-up finish. To then having MSK, and I'm going to say it, turn heel because, God, the crowd hates them. The crowd legitimately chanting, "You suck." The crowd legitimately booting. They have, but at least they finally did something heelish, so I can at least say they turned heel, because it wasn't the crowd that just decided that they're no longer baby faces. But they attack Imperium from behind. They go ahead and start talking trash, and you're like, "Oh, you want a tag team title match?" And one of them jumps on top of them again. It was great. And then they go, "All right, fine. You, us, tag team titles. Next week, bitches." And I'm like, great. So NXT's gotten the memo. The word bitch is allowed on NXT. Cool. They heard it.
The adult content.
We heard it about 6 times tonight. Well, no, the adult content was Kushida trying to take a leak and having Ikemen Jiro walk in on him. By the way, that is the most
urinals on cable TV.
That was the most uncomfortable portion of that. Was like now, Astrid, you guys don't have urinals on your side of the restroom.
I can't believe we're going with this.
We're going to do this. I'm running the show tonight, and of course we're going to get distracted.
I'm sorry,
Cody.
Astrid, this is what we get for me letting Ed take control.
Cody, is there anything more like just confusing to somebody in the restroom than somebody coming up either near you or trying to talk to you while you're using a urinal that has barely any protection?
No,
that's what I'm saying. Like that's like that, it made me uncomfortable, because in real life that would make me uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. That being said, I like that they're doing something different. They tried. It didn't fail. I don't think it was a good idea, but good on NXT for trying something different. My thing that I wanted to focus on this week was definitely everything to do with Carmelo Hayes. I'm biased. The guys from around here, he's fantastic. Aisha Taylor gave him a great introduction as the new North American champion. Trick Williams came out and made her do it again because he liked the way it sounded so much. He talks about how the title's now the A title in NXT. He's like, sorry, Ciampa, this is the title now. I'm like, all right, cool. He's making it so that it's like he's giving us a reason why he chose the North American title to not taking the NXT championship. Now, is it a good validation? No, of course not. He should have gone after the main title. That being said, I like that he's giving us a rational reason why he thinks this was the decision to make. He talks about how he pulled a swerve on swerve, which I like. It's the most basic pun in the world, but at least he made it. And he talks about how it's Carmelo's chocolate factory. Not sure I dug that comment, but cool. He's trying something new. This guy is fantastic on the mic. Great. And then he starts getting interrupted. And before he knows he's being interrupted, he knows he's supposed to be interrupted. So he starts saying, "Who's interrupting me?" before the music actually starts, which was great. And then out comes Johnny Gargano. And I'm like, I wanted this. I really do. And I still do. I just didn't want it right away. I was like, ooh, we'll get Johnny versus Carmelo at some point. No, we're going to get it right off the bat. And I love it. And Cody put it in the Slack chat. And it was the one comment on the entire Johnny Gargano promo that I saw too. Johnny Gargano lost his way. Loved it. He hit the joke. He talks about how Austin's on Raw. Indy's married to Dexter, doing her own thing. Candice is pregnant and not around. Johnny turns babyface, which was the first turn of the night, because I totally think that this promo is cementing him as a babyface again, because they've realized, why not? People love him. Let's just make him a babyface. Carmelo works better as a heel anyways. And so we get them going back and forth. Trick tries to make fun of Indy Hartwell trying to slide in Carmelo's DMs, which probably never happened, but good on Trick trying to get under Johnny's skin. Johnny plays along, and they're like, Carmelo's like, dude, that's your daughter. He's like, yeah, and that's my son-in-law behind you. And then Trick gets taken out by the silence from Dexter Lumis, which, again, fantastic staging. Great job on making it. We all knew it was coming, but NXT still hit it. The crowd didn't give it away. It was actually really well done. And we get the obvious thing where Johnny Gargano takes Carmelo Hayes' title. Later on in the night, Carmelo Hayes is still looking for his title. Trick is going through many and many lockers, most of which have Ika Manjiro's jackets in it, which, I'm sorry, having been in locker rooms before, you get one and you put your stuff in one locker, Ika. I know you have fantastic style and you need multiple lockers for all of your wonderful jackets, especially that Spencer Love jacket that you like to wear. I really hope he wears that next week with Spencer on the show, because that will be great. That being said, they finally find the locker that's all lit up, the one that they're supposed to look in, that has the hand-drawn thing for Halloween Havoc next week, where they're told that they have to come to Dexter's haunted house between 8 and 10 to get his title back. Absolutely fantastic. Loved it to death. Cody, what's your thoughts?
Okay, couple thoughts. One, I didn't catch him responding to who's interrupting me before they interrupted. I caught that when Johnny's music was already playing and was quite clearly singing "The Way," and he's like, "Who's interrupting me?" I'm like, "Are you not listening to the music, Carmelo? Come on, it's clear. You know whose music this is." I'm definitely excited for the eventual tag team match we're likely getting out of this, because even when it was just Johnny in the ring with Trick Mello, and he was like talking about losing his way and listing off everybody that's gone. I'm like, the only person he didn't mention is Dexter. And he talked about, he's been having fun. He's been bachelor parties and weddings and honeymoons aplenty. And then it gave me that I'm like, you know what? This would actually be a really good pairing, because Trick's a little bit taller, a little bit bigger. He matches up well with a guy the size of Dexter. And Johnny obviously is going to match up with Carmelo really well. So put them together, give us a tag team match, and those four should be able to give us a good show. Although in this current 2.0 world we're in, it'll probably get 10 minutes or less. But one can hope, right?
Yeah, sure.
And then just the other thing you said, Ed, with Ickerman's jackets. I think you might have missed it a few weeks ago when we got that promo of Ickerman's closet, but based on how many jackets were in that closet, he probably needs like 18 lockers to keep them all in.
No, I get it, but like when you come to work, you don't have to bring your entire work with you. Like you can bring one or two or three or four, depending on how many you need for the night.
Yeah, you're lucky if you get one locker.
Like
he has to bring enough that he has choices.
Yeah, but there's only so much space in the locker room. Everybody's got a dress. What does he get? Everybody? Like I know Dexter Lumis wears the same things to the ring that he wears to the arena, but like you got to be You have friends and other people that want to get dressed here. I mean, you got Duke Hudson's poker room taking up half the backstage.
Maybe he's just offering each of them a jacket of his so that they have something to wear.
There we go. That might be it. He seems like a nice guy like that. That might be it. Astrid, your thoughts on everything to do with Carmelo and Johnny tonight?
I mean, first I would say, obviously, I'm an Index fan, so give me all the Dexter and the Johnny you can give me, and I'll be a happy camper. That's all I gotta say. I can imagine like them trying to like look at different haunted houses through the night until they find the one with Dexter and Johnny in it. So that's something looking forward to next week for sure. But yeah, the chocolate factory line, I was like, okay. But yeah, for me, it was the same as Cody for the timing when the music was going on. It's when I heard the "Who is this?" and I was like, oh no, he didn't. That's the first thing I said. I was in the kitchen. I said, "Oh no, he didn't just say that." But I like how Johnny went back to Carmelo's line and he said, "You said when you shoot, you score, right?" So kind of going back to that at the beginning that Carmelo's always saying. So I like that back and forth between them. But it also made me wonder because isn't Johnny's contract supposed to expire like at the end of this year, early next year, or something like that? So it makes me wonder if this like the last few things we see with Johnny in NXT, if it does not renew that contract as well. So that would be kind of interesting to think about later. But yeah, I like how he used that, like, I lost my way kind of line. I'm like, that was really nice. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to, like, if they do that tag team match, I'm really looking forward to it next week.
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to be interesting. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about next week's show just because we have some time right now. At the top of the show, we can do it. So we have next week's Halloween Havoc, the matches that we have confirmed. We have our NXT Championship match between Braun Breaker and Tommaso Ciampa. We're going to have our NXT Women's Championship match and a Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal match. We're going to have our NXT Women's Tag Team Championship match and a Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal match that was made tonight. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit because that match may not be as advertised next week because of something that happened tonight. We had added to the show this week. We had MSK versus Imperium added. And I believe we also had one. And that's also a Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal match. So those are the 4 matches that we know are happening next week. I'm sure we're getting other things. What do you think about that as a lineup for a headline type of show, a Halloween Havoc level show? Ash, we'll start with you.
I mean, having all these title matches is something that would draw some eyes because obviously we don't know if any of them are going to change hands in the show, especially being a special edition. And not only that, we get LA Knight hosting now, so I wonder how that's going to play out into any of these title matches maybe through the night. I feel like I would have preferred Jace Waller in there to do it instead of LA Knight, but who knows? But yeah, I feel like all the card is stacked already, and who knows what else they add up later through the week as well. I'm looking forward to all these women's matches. Is like my highlight so far.
And Cody, your thoughts on the card as of right now?
I mean, it definitely feels like a takeover level show. Like, I think we're due at this point that in a regular, like, pre 2.0 NXT, we would have had a takeover at least lined up by now, and this feels like a takeover level show. You've got all 3 of your main big titles on the show being defended in spin the wheel matches. You've got your North American title now is going to at least be featured in the haunted house or open house or whatever it was that the Dexter and Johnny were luring Carmelo and Trick into. You've got Diamond Mine has been on every show for weeks now, so you know your cruiserweight title is going to be featured. You've got Imperium on the show in that tag team match that who knows, we might get a Walter appearance.
Very true.
So there's a lot going on in the show, and the fact that our 3 matches that we have confirmed booked so far are our title matches makes it feel like this should be our first taste of what 2.0 takeovers are going to look like.
Yeah. We got 4 world-class matches with titles on the line that mean something. The other 2 titles that are in your brand are both being featured in some way, shape, or form. Like you said, with Diamond Mine, obviously going to have something going on. So you'll see Roddy Strong out there with his cruiserweight title. I could see that tag match happening next week. I could see the Creed brothers or, Roderick Strong and Julius Creed versus Ika Manjiro and Kushida happening next week.
Yeah, I feel like Kushida and Jiro are going to need to find somebody to even those numbers out. I don't know who they find, but I feel like just in general, you're going against the Diamond Mine, who have 3 active male competitors, a female competitor, Hachiman and Malcolm Bivens, who can be distractions at ringside. Like, you've got a 6-person group there. They've got to find somebody else to at least even out that male aspect of the ring match to get Roddy involved. And both Creed brothers, and then, you know, if we want to go the whole 4v4 route like we're doing with Legato, you got to then find a female to bring in too to take out Ivy. But at the very least, you have to find a third male and give us kind of a 3v3 there, I think, to get us back to Kushida and Roddy rematch, or Jiro and Roddy match, or whatever, wherever this is heading for Roddy's title.
Yeah. But I mean, at least they're headed in a good direction. They're telling us a story. They're putting us in a direction. And they're like, look, we're giving you breadcrumbs and we're leading you in a direction. There's at least some good things happening. Like, while we all may have been down on the show as a whole, it was kind of a lackluster show. They're giving us enough to be like, I'm not uninterested in the brand as a whole.
Yeah. I'm gonna throw this out here because we've been, Diamond Mine debuted before we even went to 2.0, right?
Yeah.
And when Diamond Mine debuted, I liked Roddy. I liked Roddy all the way back before he was even in Undisputed Era, when he was just kind of the lone soldier rolling around, whatever. I have an appreciation for what Roddy brings to the show, what he brings to the matches that he's in. But when they put him out there and they had him walking out with Hachiman and Tyler Rust, I was like, this doesn't feel like much. This doesn't feel like a stable that's going to go very far. This feels like a bottom of the card, win a couple matches, and then start losing everything. When Tyler Rust got dropped, I thought, okay, that's even weirder. You just debuted this new faction and then give the guy one match and then cut him from the roster. But where they've taken it since, putting the Creed brothers in, giving us Ivy Nile, the way they've built this, the way they've treated this, that Roddy got the title, but it's been a lot more heavily focused on putting over, basically they're a machine factory pumping out wrestling machines, and what they're offering us and how they're being presented makes them a big deal to me. And lined up with Legato doing what they're doing, like Astor talked on the Legato stuff and I wanted to talk on Diamond Mine. Could we eventually end up at a point where we have Santos versus Roddy? Could we have Diamond Mine against Legato in a 4v4, taking over that spot now that Hit Row is gone? I think it's very likely, and I think it's the direction I would like to see them go.
I agree. I mean, I think we're getting makeshift teams if we're getting a War Games match. I don't think we're getting, as much as it hurts, we won't get Diamond Mine in a War Games. I think we're going to get a JBBJ and Trey Baxter.
I honestly don't even think we're getting a War Games this year. I will be shocked if we get a War Games this year. I think they're taking at least a year off because it's been Undisputed's match for the entirety of Undisputed Era being around. Nobody else has participated in anything without Undisputed other than the females doing it. But I think this year, especially with it 2.0 and just bringing all of these new green faces in, I don't think that they have enough talented people to put on a match like that will be anything that can hold a candle to what Era's been doing.
Agreed. I wholeheartedly agree. I just assume that we're probably, it's WWE, you know, those calendar events. And you're like, all right, we're getting to November. We're having a takeover. Okay, it'll be a War Games.
Yeah.
Throw together a team.
We don't even know if we're getting a takeover, do we? There's been
nothing yet.
They keep saying takeover, so I don't think they're gone. Like, everybody was like, oh, takeovers are over. This is the last takeover. I'm like, they keep mentioning the word takeover. I don't think they're gone for good. But I definitely don't think we're getting them as regularly as we started getting them before.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get one till the new year. I think we'll probably get more of these, like the Halloween Havoc episode. We might get like a November to December kind of thing, or December to Dismember, or anything along those lines. Just as a special Tuesday night show without actually a pay-per-view weekend.
I mean, it's kind of like what AEW is usually doing. They don't do that many pay-per-views, and then like their shows have kind of like a special name to it or a special theme to it every now and then. So I think maybe that's just the route they're trying to go at it, because people are new. Because I was thinking from the beginning, if they don't do Legato and Hit Row and the War Games, then we're not getting one. Because that's the match that was it for me. So once I noticed that Hit Row was leaving the brand, I'm like, in the draft, I thought there goes the War Games match. They're not doing it. So.
Yeah. So now we're going to kind of go beat by beat, and we'll jump around if we need to, but we're going to kind of go beat by beat through the show. So we had the Hayes promo to start the show. Then Johnny came out, and they had their little back and forth. It was great. And as Johnny and Dexter get ready to leave, with Johnny with the North American title, out comes Odyssey Jones for his match against Andre Chase. Again, I will continue to say this. I love Andre Chase. You want to know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of Damian Sandow.
Oh, yeah.
He's starting to remind me more and more of Damian Sandow. Mm-hmm. He's a great on-screen presence. He can wrestle just enough to make himself look competent and look good, but he doesn't need to go ahead and have, all the wins and everything. We got Tim joining us, and he says, I'd rather just NXT mix up in Survivor Series instead of a takeover. I'd love it too, but I really don't think if WWE is sincere about this being a developmental brand and trying to rebrand 2.0 as its own separate thing. Honk honk from the Goose. Thank you for the Canadian Goose, who is also at Change the Game, which you will see on these Twitch channels at some point. I've been told by Spencer Love we will see that show at some point. But Canadian Goose was involved in that show as well. Cody, what did you think of the Odyssey Jones Andre Chase match?
I think that it felt really short for a feud they spent 4 weeks or more building up on. Like, this goes all the way back to the wedding when Odyssey sat down Andre Chase when he said, jumped up at Beth saying, let's cut to the chase. And did somebody say Chase? And we're going all the way back over a month ago to the wedding for that. And we've been touching on it. We've been teasing it every single week. These two have had either a mention of each other's name in their mouth or a crossing of paths backstage or both. And it felt really, really quick. I enjoyed his own cheering section in the crowd. The Chase University Alumni Students Association or whatever it was.
Yep.
That was fun. That's something I'd like to see grow and maybe actually get some real fans involved wearing the Chase U sweaters and have an entire section dedicated to everybody in Chase U.
By the way, I would buy that sweater if they sold it in a big enough size.
The way that they kind of had the organic build of the Cesaro section over time, it would be really nice to see something like that where if they can actually capitalize and make something planned go organic like that too, where they start it, but people actually start joining in, and all of a sudden you have half the audience all in the red Chase U sweaters and have him actually become a big deal that way. But starting off with a match like this, where he's been talking so much smack and gets put down so simply, I know they're big on Odyssey. We've all heard, we've seen just how much they love kind of hyping up his accomplishments and his abilities. I just want more. When you take the time to give me a feud, take the time to pay it off. And if we're not done here, maybe we'll come back to this further and Chase will be a little bit of a whiner about it and make sure we get a rematch that gets some time. But at this point, it feels like maybe they're done.
Astrid, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is probably one of the quickest matches we've seen in the 2.0 so far. I know we had a lot of quick matches, but this was the quickest so far for me. And I feel like you make us invest in these characters and these stories, and they just end so abruptly to me, at least. And I just didn't like that at all. I wish I would spend more time on that one. I know there was a lot going on tonight, but at least if you didn't have enough time for it, you could have put it for next week or another week afterwards and just have them do some kind of promo backstage. That would have been basically the same amount of time as the match was, rather than giving us this weird ending like this. But I'm kind of hoping something happens to Chase next week and they just decide to go at it again. It's a longer match than this was.
Yeah, I will wholeheartedly agree with everybody here. The match was too quick for my liking. But I like that they're at least trying to build Odyssey Jones. Andre Chase's character seems like he's the kind of character who doesn't need a win. You can kind of let this guy be that arrogant teacher who thinks he knows better and just keeps losing, and that can be kind of part of the gimmick. But I like that they're at least trying to build Odyssey Jones. I would build Andre Chase if I were them. I think that's a better idea. That being said, that they seem to be in the Odyssey Jones camp, so I'm all for that.
I'm not opposed to, I don't have an issue with Odyssey winning the match, or even the fact that he won it rather handily. It's just, it feels in this situation that a story like this, you could pay it off with a little bit more time, have Andre, even if he takes a little bit more of a beating before he goes down, or gets a couple cheap shots, or gets a couple licks in there, anything along those lines to kind of draw it out and at least have it feel like he put in a worthy effort as opposed to just going down hard and fast.
Yeah. We then had Diamond Mine cutting their promo on the way to the ring. And then they had their match with Imperium versus the Creed brothers, where Imperium does get the win. MSK then attacks them.
One thing about that match I did forget to mention.
Yep.
That kind of felt really off to me was where the one Creed brother, he caught, I want to say it was Marcel. He caught where he had him in like the back suplex position and could have just as cleanly took him up and over, but then decided to like spin him around and take him up and over that way. And it just felt really awkward and out of place. And I couldn't understand why, if you catch someone clean in position for a suplex, why you wouldn't just hit that suplex instead of having to like awkwardly turn him around to hit a different suplex.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things I'm excited about with the Creed brothers, to see how they develop, because I think that they're definitely a little bit green and a little bit learning. The Goose brings us a really good question. So 2.0 has been going for a few weeks at this point. Do you think the 2.0 is an actual improvement over the NXT OG, or has it been a step back? Ashley, we're going to start with you on this one.
I wouldn't consider like a step back. It just feels like a rebranding of it more than anything. But I'm just like, I loved this NXT when it was like this before, with people like Sasha Banks coming in and Alexa. So I don't mind it, but I don't consider it really a step back. But I did enjoy like the version of NXT we had before this as well. So I've been watching NXT since the beginning, so I really don't mind like any era they had, but I wouldn't consider it like a step back though.
Cody.
Yeah. I don't know that I could consider it a step back or an improvement. It almost feels like a sideways, like a lateral move here for them. We've enjoyed it, or at least I've enjoyed it every week up until, I mean, I even had a lot of parts tonight that I enjoyed. It just didn't feel quite as good as what we've kind of gotten used to for the first few weeks of 2.0. It's definitely, they took what they had with bringing in a lot of big names, indie names that people recognize and have watched in other companies, bringing them and putting them on the WWE, on the like the black and gold brand, to spotlight these talents that had made themselves somewhere else. And now they're turning around to bring in a bunch of new faces, new people, new names who people have never watched before, have never seen before, have been built and developed and branded in the WWE style, but they're giving them that same spotlight and that same attention and that same appreciation that they gave to the Adam Coles, the Johnny Garganos, the Tommaso Ciampas, the Bobby Fish, the big guys that people knew came in. They gave them that spotlight. Now they've taken that away from the indie guys, let a lot of them go, and giving that spotlight to new, younger names to really grow and succeed. So it still feels a lot the same, just with different faces filling the positions.
Yeah. And I'm going to agree with both of you in the exact same way. It's not a step back, but it's definitely not the same NXT. NXT got to a point where they were a third brand, where they had so much developed indie talent who are at the top of their game, who should be on a Dynamite, who should be on New Japan, like on Main Blood Japan, New Japan, who could be on WWE main roster. And they had so much talent there that they were signing younger talent to the developmental brand to teach them the WWE way and to make their own new stars. The one thing that everybody keeps saying that they can't do and haven't done. And WWE's like, no, we're going to. And so they made a conscious effort to bring in people that they want to try to, make on their own. People like Odyssey Jones and Trick Williams. People like, then bringing in names that people might not have heard of. Trey Baxter. Carmelo Hayes, people like that who are big names to certain small groups of even the IWC, but not even that the whole IWC knows who they are. Because I know that Carmelo Hayes, we know him in New England, but I don't know if you guys in Canada or down in Florida, if you had heard much about Christian Casanova before he showed up. JBBJ with Josh Briggs. Again, Josh Briggs, big in New England, not sure how big of a name he was elsewhere. They're newer names, they're different names, but they still have that same indie cred, but it seems like they're getting more regional indie names, and they're bringing them in and making them feel better. I like it because it brings me back to WrestleMania 30, and NXT comes on, and they're the first thing, and we get NXT Arrival, and you have a complex show of, veterans putting on the main events and younger talent throughout the show making their name. You brought up names like Sasha Banks and Bayley and people like that. I bring up names like Baron Corbin and Bull Dempsey. Like, I remember loving watching NXT to count along as Baron Corbin won a match in 25 seconds. Like, that was great. And he was over, and he was a heel, and he was just wrecking people. But it made those squash matches feel cool because the crowd would chant because they knew it wasn't going to take very long.
Yeah.
So is it a step back? Yeah, it's a step back to the old way that NXT used to be when it first made the WWE Network. Is it a step back in terms of it's a bad step back? No, it's like Cody said. It's a step to the side. It's a change in direction.
Yeah. It's not a step back in quality by any means. It's a step back and a redirection of focus.
Yeah. But that's a great point that I think a lot of people, it's one of the better points about that we've had on the show is a discussion of is 2.0. The 2.0 I think is the one thing that throws people off because you think new version, better, different. And it's not. It's just it's going back to basics and making NXT what it always was, a developmental territory, a place to be able to spotlight younger talent so that when they make the main roster, they feel like a big deal, that you know who they are. So after we have the MSK attack and the Creed brothers, we get one of my favorite promos of the entire night, which is the Kyle O'Reilly Von Wagner promo in the woods. I'm sorry, I've started to fall in love with these two. I don't want them as a tag team, but it seems like that's what we're going to get. But I love these two. Ashley, why don't we have you talk about this promo?
I didn't get to listen to it. I was just like watching it. I thought it was kind of interesting from what I've seen, but it just like I feel like
much.
I don't even miss much then. But I just like feel like I like them as a tag team, so I feel like at the end it's gonna hurt when they break them up later, and I'm like, I'm not looking forward to that because they look good together so far, and I'm looking forward to what they do together. But that breakup is just like I'm waiting for it, and I'm just not gonna be good for me. So, yeah.
Cody, your thoughts?
It's a very interesting odd couple dynamic. Like, I know you guys both hate the Io and Zoe odd couple dynamic. This is a really interesting one because you can tell that they're different people. You got Kyle is like this weird, like hippie CrossFit biker backwoods. Yeah. Like, he feels like your typical hippie in the woods on a bike with his helmet and his knee pads and ready to go for a ride. And then you've got Von Wagner comes up as like your backwoods hiker, live off the land, workout in the nature, in nature, like lifting logs and doing chin-ups on trees and hacking down the trees. It felt like a really weird back and forth between them, that they could both do the same things, but they looked different doing it. And then you get to the end where they crack the beer and it's like, you know what? We may live different lives, but we got a couple things in common.
Yeah, I loved that. I love that odd couple where Kyle does, like you said, he comes in on the bike and he's like, Vaughn, where's your bike? He's like, no, we don't need bikes for what we're going to do. And Kyle's like, what the hell are we doing then? And he picks up this big, huge log and he just starts running with it. And then he stops and he hands it to Kyle and it's Kyle's turn. And then, like you said, it's the chin-ups on the trees and the hacking down the tree. And it's this old school, like, lumberjack CrossFit workout. And I loved it.
It was very Bear Grylls, right? Von Wagner gave me very Bear Grylls feels. Like, Kyle O'Reilly was the celebrity out in the wild with Bear Grylls.
And then the best part is, like, we got one thing left to do. And Kyle's like, what's that? And he's like, 12-ounce curls. And I'm like, oh, I'm dying. I love this. This is so great. Because it was so unexpected that they're going to sit there by the fire and just drink beer together. But I'm like, all right, cool. And Kyle says the same thing that we've all been saying. It's like, we don't really fit together. We don't look right. We do, but we got a couple, like you said, a couple things in common. We like to kick ass, and we can do that. and they go ahead and they chink the beers and they drink the beers, and I'm like, all right, cool. I could be in for this because it's giving Von Wagner, again, like we've said with everything with 2.0. You put Braun Breaker with LA Knight for night one, and then immediately with Tommaso Ciampa the rest of the way. And you've got somebody to give him legitimacy and to cover up any, flaws he might have as he learns how to make sure that he's going to be ready for the spotlight he's given. Von Wagner, same thing. He takes Kyle's place in the triple threat, in the fatal four-way title match. He's got 3 ring generals in that ring with him to make sure he doesn't have any flaws exposed. Now he's going to be teaming with Kyle. You continue to keep giving us exposure to him, but keep him from being exposed and flawed as he continues to grow. Now, granted, Cal Bloom is probably the most talented of all of these younger talents because his father is the one who runs the Performance Center. Matt Bloom, A-Train,
Tensei.
all the wonderful Tensei. That's the one I was trying to think. I'm like, what was the Japanese name? Lord what?
Prince Albert.
Lord Tensei. Yes, Prince Albert, Lord Tensei. But I mean, it's good. They're giving us something. And like I said in the Slack chat, there was so much story in this show. Like, it was kind of blah for the beginning of the show. Like, you had a couple good singers. But for the most of the beginning of the show, it was just kind of whatever. But it all had story going on. And that's the one thing I can say about this show, is there are breadcrumbs everywhere for what we're going to continue to see. Speaking of breadcrumbs...
talking out that segment here, one thing that kind of came to my mind about a couple of the points you just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
How much, a lot of people keep talking about LA Knight and why LA Knight hasn't been called up, why he's not being given title shots, what are they doing with LA Knight? What does it say about the trust they have in LA Knight that night one of NXT 2.0, they put him with Braun Breaker and they put him in the ring with Von Wagner? They're two kind of biggest stars they're pushing, and LA Knight was the guy that got to work both of them on night one. And I don't think that's something that we really recognized or appreciated too much on that night. We were too busy talking about LA Knight losing twice in one night, but he got to be the guy to work both of the new guys that night. And then the other thought I had was, from last week, everybody was talking about wanting Von Wagner to turn on Kyle at the end of that tag team match. Seeing this play out in this promo today, I now want Kyle to be the one to turn after Vaughn said last week, like, I helped you because I saw an opportunity, and now doing all of this, I want it to get to a point where Kyle's like, you know what? I was happy to help you when you were like helping me out, but now I realize that by teaming with you and forming a tag team with you, I've actually lost focus of that world title I was trying to get to, and you've actually been holding me back.
Yeah.
Both of those points are fantastic, and I agree with both of them. Mm-hmm. So, again, speaking of breadcrumbs, we move on a little bit with the show. We get another great Joe Gacy promo. Again, nothing new. Absolutely nothing new from Joe Gacy. It's the same stuff we've been hearing. But yes, we do have the hand. Reach out and touch me. It's great. I love it. I love it. Everything he's doing makes me want to punch him in the face, so I know he's doing fantastic heel work. Because it's such crap. But at the same time, we were so worried after the first show when they did this. And I remember the three of us in our Slack chat when the news came out that we saw all the news sites going, "Oh, Joe Gacy pulled from the show," and when they pulled him from the replays and stuff, we're like, "Oh, they're gonna just run away from the gimmick because the media didn't like it." Nope. All the work, all fantastic. It's been great. It's gonna continue to be great. And all he needed was that 1 minute. We didn't forget about him. We know he's there. He'll probably get another one of these next week because he probably won't be on the show. And then in 2 weeks, when we get back to a normal NXT 2.0, I'm sure he's going to have a match, and we're going to get more with this Parker Boudreaux. I forget what his new name is. I honestly do.
I had to look it up. It's Harlan.
I just want to call him Balls Lesnar.
Yes, Balls Lesnar. I'm broke. All right, Balls Lesnar it is. But yeah, then we get our Legado del Fantasma promo with Escobar calling out calling out Hayes and calling him the luckiest son of a bitch. Great. He then turns to Elektra to let her cut a promo, and she's immediately interrupted by Cora Jade, who makes her entrance. They go ahead and have a match, and Cora Jade gets a roll-up and a victory. And I'm like, cool,
And
all right.
Stuns Elektra with that too.
Yes, it surprised me. I wasn't ready for the match to end. There was a little bit of sloppy footwork, I'll say, in this match. Two girls that they didn't have a ton of chemistry together, but it was a good, fine match. I'll be excited to see more of it because it looks like we're going to see more of it in the future. Astrid, what did you think?
Yeah, I was not expecting it to be that quick. I'm like, I know we get quick matches now with NXT 2.0, but still is not what I expected it to be. But I wonder how it goes as well with the Trey and Cora storyline, because she's won 2 matches with roll-ups, and then the one match he lost. So go back to that. I wonder how, like, he would say something about it later on. And not only does obviously he lose, but he gets like attacked backstage by the guys. So I wonder how that affects him going like, you're winning and I'm not, sort of situation, to see how it plays out between both of them on screen. It's what I'm looking forward to seeing. I was not expecting them to like join in and going against Legado, but I'm like, that will be interesting for me. You know, maybe it's a way for both Cora and Elektra to get that experience with these guys that have a lot of experience so far. So I'm looking forward to them being involved in this so far.
And Cody.
I would like to see Trey get his first win with a roll-up. and just be like so shocked at himself that it actually works. Like, maybe start building that tension between him and Cora, that he keeps losing and she keeps winning just by rolling people up. And just over a couple matches, build that tension. He's like, how are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And she's like, no, just do it this way. And then he finally does it and wins and is just so shocked and amazed in himself. I think that would be a fun story to play out. I don't know if it has like longevity to it, but it could be something fun to start and get us kind of at least involved and interested in what they're doing. The promo's a lot of what Santos has been doing. They'd promoted Cora Jade before they actually even started cutting the promo that she'd be up next, so nothing really surprising about her cutting off Elektra there. It was a fine match. It was I actually had a feeling going in that Cora might get that upset the same way she did over what's her name now? Frankie. Yeah. I wanted to call her Taya Valkyrie for a second.
I wish they would have, but apparently she didn't want to.
But yeah, like, it just seems to be something they're doing with her right now, that they're making her seem like a big deal, but she's also not really being dominant. She just seems like she's getting lucky. So a couple interesting stories at play there, and it definitely led to a lot more, as we talked about with the Legato stuff.
Yeah. We then get the triple threat singles match for the tag team, women's tag team match, which ends up turning into a singles match. Scary moment. We have Persia on the outside of the ring. Io's on the ring apron, getting ready to do a spot. She's waiting her turn, and you can notice that she's waiting her turn. JC Jane gets up, goes ahead and takes a running start, dives through the ropes. Both of her feet catch the second rope as she dives through the second and top rope, and she goes head first right into the ground. Smartly, Io Shirai goes in, does a springboard moonsault, make sure that she lands almost all on Persia, and they cut immediately to a commercial break. Unfortunately for NXT, this was a bad idea and bad timing at this point to go to a split screen break, because they then used the camera that was focused on Io in Persia with JC in the background being checked out by the referees and the doctors. While it was great to know that they were at least checking on her pretty much right away, I really wish that they would have used a different camera angle so that we didn't have to watch it and worry about it. Sorry, a little fly was flying through. The match then ends with Io Shirai getting the moonsault victory on Persia in the singles match that ensues. And then they go ahead and spin the wheel and make the deal for the Scareway to Hell ladder match. Cody, what were your thoughts on this tag triple threat / singles match?
Definitely concerning, the spot that JC took, and seeing her be hauled out. And I don't know if it was maybe a planned injury or if it actually was legit as bad as it looked. So hopefully she's okay and can go just fine next week for the ladder match there, because you don't want to put somebody like that in a ladder match if there's a serious worry of any kind of neck or concussion issue of the hit she took today. I think Persia and Io went over pretty well just as a singles match between them, considering Io's experience and Persia's relative non-experience. Io going over clean wasn't a surprise. I know we kind of talked about this last week. Ed, you projected, I think, Io, Indy, and Gigi as the match tonight. And I projected JC, Persia, and Zoe. So, but I also said if Io's in the match, Io's winning the match. So it wasn't, as soon as I saw that Io was the one in the ring after they came back from that first break in the introductions, I was like, okay, so Io's, not that it really makes a difference. You win the match to spin a wheel. What does it matter who spins the wheel? It's random, right? So, still a fun match. Still looking forward. Hopefully all 6 women are ready to go for next week and we don't have to worry about it changing or anything like that. Really hoping next week ends up with a trio crowning of Toxic Attraction with 3 belts at the end of the night.
Could be fun. Astrid, your thoughts on the match?
I totally missed that spot with Jane though, and I found the video like on Twitter. I did realize though, like just when she lands, Persia kind of pulls her in and kind of touches her, like checks on her. And when they do, I guess when she says like she's okay, that's when Io does her spot. Yeah. But I thought it was interesting, like even if they had it planned out with Jane being in the ring the whole time, they had to change that match on the fly as that happened as well. So it's interesting to think about how they changed their routine that they had for that match because of the injury. But I'm hoping she's well, because I'm like, I don't want that match to get canceled or to be changed last minute somehow. I'm looking forward to Toxic Attraction just winning all the 3 titles. So I just like, it'll bum me if it'll change the result because of her injury. And obviously it affects Gigi as well when she wasn't even involved in the match. You would think about it that way too. So I'm just like, it's concerning. I hope she's okay though.
Yeah, so there's 2 ways this could go. If they get pulled, we could see Casey and KC end up in this match to keep it as a triple threat. We could also see, now NXT has a habit of doing this, and they've done it, I'm going to say habit once. They've done it once. The Adam Cole rule, where Adam Cole was part of UE and Bobby Fish was unable to compete, so he had to defend the tag team titles with Kyle O'Reilly and then wrestle later for a title in his own right. Mm-hmm. So I could very easily see potentially them putting Mandy in this match.
Yeah, I thought about that.
And then giving Mandy a reason to lose in the main event.
Yeah, I thought about that too.
Freebird it.
Yeah, just have it as but like either way, I mean, like hoping on hope. She seems like she's okay. There's no reason to change the announcement today. You have 7 days can do light years when it comes to a concussion. If it's even a concussion, she could just have a stinger. She could just be super sore in her neck and they didn't feel comfortable bringing her back out there. Yep. That's most likely what happened. She fell rough. I mean, it wasn't a fun look. I won't be looking for it to rewatch it again. But they did a really good job with, like Cody said, making sure that when they changed this to a singles match, not to expose Persia, because she was definitely not supposed to play as pivotal a role in this match as she ended up having to play. And you could see it with a couple times where Io was getting a little frustrated trying to lead her around. Io, right before the moonsault, Io does something, and Persia resets herself for the moonsault as soon as she lands. And Io legitimately looks irritated as she steps on her like she does every time. But she looked more pissed off than ever. She stepped on her to get over for the moonsault just because she repositioned way too early. But it was a good match. I'm very excited to see what this triple threat tag ladder match looks like. And I think it's an easy way that you can take the titles off Io and Zoe, put them on whoever. Yes.
I'm not ready for the titles to be off Io and Zoe. I want them to tell more story there. I'm not with you guys on that one, but I think we're heading towards Toxic Attraction getting them. Whether it is Mandy and Gigi getting them and freebirding them with JC and giving that reason for Mandy to lose her second match of the night, whether it's Mandy winning those and winning against Raquel and Toxic Attraction standing tall. I would like to see that, but I'm also just, I think there's a lot more you can do with the Io and Zoe story still.
So we have, after this, we have the Legado del Fantasma attacking Trey Baxter backstage, being saved by JBBJ. I like a little thing here is that they didn't leave Cora Jade out of this. You have Cora Jade hiding in the corner, Elektra Lopez cornering her and saying, look at what we're doing to him. This is going to be you. And I really like that they're bringing Elektra in, and she's still part of this Mean Girls thing.
I think you missed, or maybe I'm half asleep here, but I think you missed the Ciampa Breaker promo before the ladies.
Oh, I probably,
yeah.
I probably
that's
did.
right.
So somebody else, go ahead and
the interview that they had backstage talking to Ciampa and Braun Breaker about the tag match later in the night, and Breaker kind of directly suggesting that he's seen this act before, and it's like Tommaso's going to accidentally hit him in the match and cost them the tag match. And he's like, so I'm going to have my eye on you. And Ciampa's like, weren't you just saying last week you had to protect me so I could be at 100% for next week? It's your show, kid. You take the lead. And then he, like, when he says that, he's like, I'm just here to follow your lead, champ. And Braun gets this really, really, like, a shit-eating grin on his face as he's like, I'm champ, that's right. As Ciampa has already walked out of the frame. Like, that kid's got something going for him in all of his mannerisms and what he's doing. But I really, really enjoy just, that you could really visibly notice when he heard himself being called champ, his mind started going to him being the champ next week.
And speaking of champs, we do have the boss on next week because of Braun Breaker having a chance to become the champion. We felt it was only right that we bring in Spencer Love of Love Wrestling to go ahead and talk about NXT Halloween Havoc, since Cody will unfortunately be on assignment next week. Cody, we will miss you on that show. We really wished you would be here.
I'm going to miss me on that show. I did everything in my power to try and not be on assignment that day. But I will be in the comments. I will be watching from my assignment and commenting, and along with Parrish, trying our best to derail Ed.
Oh, God. Me being derailed with Spencer here. Oh, just thank God they didn't do the bathroom segment with Spencer here.
I think I'm going to end up walking out next week. Hold on.
All right. After the triple threat.
Briefly, that was where they also played the promos from Grayson Waller and LA Knight, both pitching themselves to be the host for Halloween Havoc next week, and then setting up that there was a match coming later on the show tonight to determine who actually gets to be the host.
Okay. I have the match. I just didn't have the promo stuff. We had the Legado attack backstage. Then we have the Solo Sikoa, I believe is how Wade Barrett pronounced it. I believe it's the third Uso.
Yeah, Solo Sikoa. And he did make a mention in that promo about how he was left alone and had to grow up and be strong and live on the streets, and he didn't have anybody that would watch his back. And
that's interesting. It's a really good promo. The visual of the promo isn't the greatest. It's done intentionally to not let us see a ton of him, to not really get a gauge as to what we're going to see come next week. But I like what we're seeing, and we're going to see him on the show next week, as well as we're going to see the mystery person in the graveyard. We'll get to that promo in a bit. We then had the Kushida and Iko Manjiro in the bathroom. We then got Tony D'Angelo. I'm going to say this now because I said it in the Slack chat. I'm going to come out and say it on the program. I was wrong. I love Tony D'Angelo. Tony D'Angelo is fast.
Forget about it.
Forget about it. Everything about this guy. I was completely wrong. This gimmick is perfection. It's fast. It's quickly becoming my favorite thing on all of NXT television. He goes ahead and has a match with Ru Feng, was the name that we were given. And in the Slack chat, I said that they let the 2K announcer team call this match between Tony D'Angelo and the Creator Wrestler, because they refused to use his name, even though they flashed it on TV. Every time they referred to him, it was the opponent, the opposition. I'm like, come on, really? Like, I know the name's bad because it's a squash match and we don't give a shit about what. Whoopsies. We don't give a crap what his name is. But, like, come on. Like, you don't need the 2K, video game announce team that can't bother to call somebody a name.
It's because we were missing Beth. Beth probably would have gave him the appreciation. Wade doesn't give a damn.
By the way, I miss Beth with Wade when she's gone. Like, on nights where she's gone and she's dealing with the girls, or, like, in this case, she's taking care of the girls because Edge is going to Saudi Arabia. I miss her on these shows. I almost wish they'd let her do the Zoom call-ins like they used to do.
Yeah, I was going to say that too.
With the Morrow shows. What did you guys think of the Tony D'Angelo match? And more importantly, the Tony D'Angelo promo after the match?
There was the Tony D'Angelo promo before the match, too.
Yeah, I was going to say it was a promo.
Yeah, but the promo before the match was kind of stuff.
It was a little bit of the same, but he's still the body of Mark was still in the trunk of the car, bouncing around.
I love it. Oh, I love it.
Poor guy.
I've been a fan since day one. I've been calling this. Like, the promos just had me all in on him long before you, obviously, Ed. But the match was good. Like, it was another short kind of squash match for him, doing what he does. But the promo afterwards, and they ask him, Lash's producer, Mark, has been missing since last week. Do you know anything about this? Well, I don't know nothing about nothing. And I actually am quite astonished that you would ask me that question.
He then slips her 100 to tell her to stop asking questions.
Slips her 100. Go buy yourself something nice and forget about it.
Oh, Tony D'Angelo. Chef's kiss, Tony. Astrid, thoughts on Tony D'Angelo?
I was like okay with him, but that promo just won me over. That was enough. When he's like, I don't know about anything, forget about it. That was priceless to me. I was like, can I watch this again? Because I liked that promo interview afterwards. That was probably the best part so far.
Seems like we've gone down on Twitch, but we'll hopefully be back up there in just a moment. We're going to go ahead and continue. We're talking about Duke Hudson's poker segments. I really don't care about Duke Hudson playing poker.
He did have one line I loved in this promo, though, Ed.
Okay.
Where he's like, you can call me the house because the house always wins.
Yeah.
If that's what this poker thing turns into, is him being the house and everybody's betting against the house when they step in the ring with him, I'll accept it 100% because that is something that I never knew I wanted out of a wrestler.
But like I said, like the segments are like there are so many other characters that I wish would have more time on their promo segments. And we have to give Duke Hudson like 2.5 minutes because his promo segments are him playing poker. So like he needs the extra time. And I'm just like, I really wish they'd give this to somebody else. Like, I get it. Like, that line is really cool. And if that's where we're going with it, fine. It's good enough. But like, there's just like, imagine if you give that extra time to Tony D'Angelo, or you give that extra time to Ika Manjiro and Kushida, or you give more time to Malcolm Bivens, or Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes, or, Santos Escobar. Like, just, there's so many good things that could come of this. That being said, Duke Hudson's still here. He seems like a big deal. They seem, very happy with him and what he's going on. So he beats nameless people in poker and wins money in his own poker room. Good for him.
With a set of 3 5s, I think. 3 of a kind on 5s, and he won a big pot. And I'm like, damn, dude, I can't even win with that.
I did find, the level of poker in that room seems pretty bad. I mean, I kind of want to get in that poker room, see if I can have a chance at that. I might win some money. We then have JBBJ getting ready to go to the ring to take on Legado del Fantasma, but the music plays and nothing happens. And so they go backstage, and Jensen's already down, and Briggs is like, what happened? My question is, Briggs, where were you? You're on your way to the ring. How far away from your partner can you be that he gets attacked and you don't know? I'm sorry, it's a small logic hole, but for me it makes a whole lot of, like, it's not even like they're a thrown together tag team. They want to be tagging together. They have a legitimate storyline reason to be tagging together. They should be closer. And you walked away to go get a drink of water, leaving him at Gorilla?
Maybe he went to get a beer before the match.
Maybe.
Maybe Jensen was there first. Jensen got there first and was warming up, and Briggs showed up, and his buddy was already taken out. Maybe he took too long in the shower. Maybe he had to run the can. I don't know. My first thought was maybe Jensen was actually behind him coming out, and he took a chair shot, and Briggs just turned around, and his buddy's on the ground and didn't actually see Wild there.
Okay, there we go. That's a little bit better. I immediately went for the worst case scenario.
Heard the chair shot, but didn't turn around in time to see anything, and then got too focused on his tag partner on the ground right before a match that now he takes a chair shot too.
Yeah. But then Legado del Fantasma... Oh, sorry.
What was with that cape? Like, where did that come from, Joaquin? Like, I don't know where that came from. That is not anything we have seen from Legado yet, but that had bigger shoulders than my mom's business jacket in the 90s.
It was great. I loved it. My favorite part is Legado coming out to Jensen. They by the way, this entire promo, they never stop Briggs and Jensen's The music is still playing, and you have Santos Escobar coming out pretending to play the banjo. Oh, I nearly lost it. Santos is a gift from God. That man is fantastic. And so we go to commercial break with them in the ring and being like, haha, we got one over. And we come out to apparently Jensen and Briggs came running out anyways and pushed away the referees and decided to have the match. I'm like, cool. All right, so now if Legado wins, you can go ahead and you can explain it away. Something happened to Briggs, and then something happened to Jensen, and then Briggs got hit with a chair shot. And you can explain away why they lose. Great little match. I love Santos Escobar just sitting out there again, still teasing them, pretending to play the banjo, distracting Briggs so that he can get the upper hand. And then at some point, towards the end of the match, Jensen comes popping out. Escobar thinks he's all dandy. He's like, ha, I fooled them all. He gets slapped in the face by Briggs. It was great. But it leads to the downfall, and Legado del Fantasma beats JBBJ. Cody, we talked a little bit about this before, but we'll just go ahead and briefly talk about it. What were your thoughts on the match, on the way that the creative ways that NXT found tonight to beat young talent, but still make them feel like they were having good nights?
Yeah, I mean, like, being attacked before the match is nothing new. Being attacked in Gorilla, where you actually have, like, the camera run up the stage through the entrance and show you the walk back. Like, we got two different looks at that tonight. We got it from Legado and we got it from Diamond Mine, where we got to see Gorilla. And it almost... In AEW, they have the two sides, right? They have your heel side and you have your face side. And they come out from their specific sides always. And you never see that in WWE. You only have the one entrance ramp, and that's all you see. And the framing of these two shots, where you had Diamond Mine coming down this way and then out, and then where we went to find JBGJ, we go the other way, and they're down there, but then Legado still comes out from the same side they were, really kind of plays up that, they were down on the face side of the entrance tunnel, and that's how they attacked them. It was really interesting framing, a really interesting kind of just like peek behind the curtain, both literally and figuratively, as to a little bit more on the production aspect of NXT and giving you a look at, our heels and faces don't stand in Gorilla together. They have two sides, or at least that's the way they're trying to present it to us. And I'm okay with that. And just not putting them over in this match. Like, they just were in the title match last week too. They don't need another big win at this point. They've been presented well enough. Have them taken down a small notch in a way that, makes it seem, okay, it wasn't entirely fair. They got attacked beforehand. They hit a big move where they should have had a pin, but you had Santos hop up on the apron on them. You had Jensen then lose his focus and go out to take that swing at Escobar and take him down and then get caught. And also the blind tag. I mean, it's typical tag team strategy, but it's usually something that's done a lot more from the heel side as a blind tag and getting the sneak attack. So it still keeps Briggs and Jensen looking strong, but also lets Legado get a big win and maybe move them back to a potential match in the future with MSK or Imperium or whoever's taking it.
Just want to say hi to Carl for popping in from Turnbuckle Talk. So thank you, Carl. just popped in to say hello and show your support. We appreciate it. They had a great show today, and make sure to catch Turnbuckle Talk every week, every Tuesday, 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 o'clock Mountain Time, a bunch of other times in whatever time zone you might be in. Fill in the blank. But Carl and his new co-host, Bubba, do a great job. I enjoy listening to them today. They did a match predictions card on the Crown Jewel show happening on Thursday afternoon. Astrid, your thoughts on the Legado del Fantasma JBBJ match?
Yeah, I was thinking along that's what Cody said. Like it makes JBBJ, it doesn't make him look bad, and it makes Legado look strong as well. And I love having Santos in by ringside. This is one of those occasions that I don't mind the heel distraction at all. He could do this every single week, and I would love it anyway. I really don't care. But I like having them together so far. So I'm really looking forward to what they do next. I really want to see what maybe next week we'll get something between them. That would be interesting too. And hopefully obviously I did like the point of view from like going to Gorilla, because when I first noticed it, I was like, wait, are they really going that far back? I'm like, I was surprised that they did, but I really did like seeing it from that point of view though. So I thought that was super interesting from their angle. But other than that, I really enjoyed the match.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, it was a fun match. It gave Briggs and Jensen a reason to lose. It gives Legado del Fantasma that heel heat that they need. It does everything for everybody, and it again continues more breadcrumbs that this isn't the end of all this. We're going to see more. There's more to this, and it can tie in with a bunch of other stuff going on. Nothing seems like it happens in isolation in NXT 2.0 anymore. Nothing happens in its own little bubble like it might happen on the main roster. Everything seems to have a reaction to something else going on the show. We then have Mandy Rose and Raquel with dueling promos talking about the main event. I loved this portion of the segment. It was picture perfect. It portrays Mandy in exactly the way that Mandy Rose, she's voicing the promo, but it gives you the visuals that you expect to see from a Mandy Rose produced package. It's all about her sex appeal and about her look and about how could girls like me be overlooked in this world? If you look like me, you should never be overlooked. I should be what everybody looks at all the time. And then you have Raquel coming in here and going, I've worked harder. I've worked fat. I've done everything I can. I'm tougher than you. I'm bigger than you. I'm stronger than you. She goes through all that stuff. It's absolutely fantastic. Astrid, your thoughts heading into the what will be a big time match next week, Mandy versus Raquel.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite package of the night. I feel like it went to the point, giving us both of their point of views, and I like the back and forth they had, and the look and feel of it, and the footage it showed us. The only thing I don't find it accurate is Raquel in the training like that, because Braun Strowman is not beside her. That's the only thing that's not real, okay? But aside from that, it was good.
Her TikTok is not kayfabe. Her TikTok with Braun Strowman, which by the way is fantastic, and if you're not watching Raquel Gonzalez hitting on Braun Strowman on TikTok, you're truly missing out, because it's one of my favorite things I've ever seen on TikTok. That being said, Cody, what are your thoughts on this promo package?
Loved it. Loved it. I literally on my package said it was absolutely fantastic hype video. The dueling, the contrast of them, but also just the way that they showed them both in such a strong light. Mandy talking about her appeal, her appearance, her, it wasn't so much how do I get ignored? It was, I could never figure out why I kept getting jumped in line. And it wasn't until I joined Toxic Attraction that I realized I shouldn't be standing in line at all. And that was a really, really kind of cool way of putting that with Toxic Attraction as well, that, she was just sitting back waiting for her moment to come to her. And Gigi and JC showed her, why are you waiting? Take the moment for yourself. And Raquel, you've got Mandy out there in her, sun clothes, lots of cleavage, lots of skin showing, riding around in convertibles. And every shot we got of Raquel was her flexing, working out in the gym, hands dirty, typical workout gear. Nothing about her had anything to do with sex appeal. And it's that contrast of styles and contrast of personalities. And it's a match I've been excited for since Mandy popped out on Raquel after the Frankie match. Really looking forward to it next week. I do think Mandy goes over in it, but I think Raquel comes out of this looking strong either way.
Yeah. And this is a play, like, you know, we're going to have a semi-philosophical discussion. We're pretty much at the end of the show. There's not a whole lot left to talk about. We talk about the Divas era and how problematic it was in certain respects with portraying women in a certain way. There's a space for those kinds of people on the roster. There's a space for your beauty queens and your pageant queens who can still wrestle and get the job done. There's a space on your roster for a woman like Scarlett who takes pride in her appearance and wants to show it off. There's a space for people like Mandy Rose in Toxic Attraction who are going to use their appearance to their advantage to be able to get ahead, like she said in the promo, like Cody brought up, to not have to wait in line, to just skip the line and go straight to the top, to use it to get reactions. There's a specific one they have of backstage with Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes as the Toxic Attraction walks by and them being super into them. Things like that. There's room for that still in this day and age. That diva type of wrestler, like an Eva Marie, still has a place in this world where we have people like Shayna Baszler and Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair and Bayley and Sasha Banks and the workhorses of a female division who can out-wrestle anybody, including the men. You know, add in there people like Jordynne Grace. Add in there people like Deonna Purrazzo, Mickie James, Lady Frost, Chelsea Green, you know, crossing any brand and any promotion. Your Britt Bakers, you know, everybody like that. There's room for all of that. And I think people look at people like Mandy Rose and Eva Marie and think back to that Divas butterfly belt and look at it as a bad thing. And I'm like, no. As long as not every woman is in the same mold like it was in the Attitude Era, it's fine to have these types of characters in your wrestling promotion.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very much I think that's what people still look at when they look at a Liv Morgan or a Carmella as well, as they're seeing the butterfly belt on them. They're not seeing as Carmella as someone deserving of a title held by a Charlotte Flair. They think Carmella is someone who should have been around in 2010 and should have been a butterfly champion. And it's not fair to those wrestlers because Carmella, yeah, maybe she's not as physically gifted in terms of like wrestling ability, but she's still there. She's still a performer. She still gives her all in every match. She still gets over with enough of the audience that she deserves to be in the conversation just as much as the ones that they choose to push all the way to the top. And, you know, we've always had, even in the butterfly era, we had the Beth Phoenixes in there as the stronger champion. It was never a problem to have the one token strong person among all the pretty beautiful ones that couldn't really wrestle. And just to that same level, it shouldn't be a problem when you're really focusing and pushing and emphasizing the stronger, talented women's wrestlers to still have a couple of those beautiful wrestlers in there and involved that can win the championship on any given night as well. And that's why I think you really need to have all of those different versions of femininity in there. It's why other companies are getting such a hit out of a Lady Frost who doesn't look the part the way she presents herself. The Rachel Ellerings, the Jordynne Graces, having Jamie Hayter wrestling on a televised main pay-per-view program right now is absolutely huge. Nyla Rose, too. Nyla Rose is someone like, where did this come from? 10 years ago, that's not even something you would expect to see on like late night TV wrestling, let alone on a mainstream program. So we're really moving forward in the world, and it's not fair to someone like a Mandy Rose or a Carmella or a Liv Morgan or a Zelina to say, oh no, they're just there to be a pretty face. They don't deserve to actually be a champion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think I'm going back to that point because like people like Carmella has changed so much since she debuted, and she's been able to like mold herself to whatever character they give her, and she's excelled at whatever she's done. She's been entertaining, whether she's been moonwalking or chasing the 24/7 championship with R-Truth. Like, she's done so well and she's been highlighted in different ways, but we still see her on TV so often. And I feel like just because she doesn't wrestle like the other girls, it doesn't mean we have to overlook her. She's still talented. She entertains us. She's doing her job. She's doing exactly what she's supposed to be doing, and she's doing well at it. I do wish they had more time though for like girls like her, like Liv Morgan, for example, who are just like, I feel like they haven't had much time recently, and I feel like they should because they're entertaining. We just don't see enough of them, unfortunately, and that's how like I love them. I love how different they all are. I love how everybody's like has their own different things. Not everybody's like the same in the women right now, and that's something that I've always loved watching from every one of them. Doesn't matter what company it is.
Yeah. I just felt like it. We're getting ready to push Mandy Rose versus Raquel Gonzalez, and I feel like this was a good time to sit here and go, let's just remember that just because the Divas era is gone doesn't mean that the Divas type of wrestlers are to be looked down upon, because I think people, misjudge, like you guys said, misjudge and misconstrue the talent ability of a Mandy Rose and go, is she really deserving of this title shot over people like Frankie Monet, Ember Moon, people like that? But you know what? I'm excited to have potential to have an NXT led by a Mandy Rose at the top in the female division with all of these talented women who can help her mold her into continuing to grow as a female wrestler and to continue to become the next crop of Paige and Charlotte and Becky and Sasha and all of those wonderful divas and women's wrestlers that we have going on right now. Speaking of divas and women's wrestlers, I think it's going to be a woman. We have the Graveyard Mystery promo again. Things we see in this, I see a broken TV, I see a crutch. I know there was a couple other things.
There was a mirror, if I'm not mistaken, was one of them.
There was
a steel chair with the WWE logo on it.
That got buried.
Yep.
I still have no idea who this is. I know Astrid had an idea in the Slack chat. So go ahead and go to Astrid first.
Yeah, I was thinking when I saw the crutch, it reminded me of Dakota. I feel like there was a time she was always hanging out with that crutch when she had the injury going on. So just like it made me think of her. Like the person seems like, I don't want to like not body shaming or anything, but she seems kind of thin and small the way she is. So her body figure kind of looks like her so far. So I'm like, if it is her, that'll be exciting because I'm like, we haven't seen her since everything with Raquel happened. She didn't get drafted either. She even like tweeted to Bailey and said we're free agents. So I'm like, that'll be interesting to give her like some sort of turn. But I'm like, I wanted her to be in the main roster because I feel like what else is she gonna do in NXT if they didn't give her the title at this point? That's the part that I'm like,
yeah.
But, yeah.
Dakota's personality, ever since she arrived as that like sweet little baby face that Shayna broke the arm of, she's never really connected on a deeper level with me like a lot of characters do. She always seemed like that nervous little kid who's just living her dream on TV and playing a character, and she never really hit me as somebody that was living the character. So if that's what we get out of this, as she's burying the past and coming back and actually developing a character arc and going to live that character arc to a believable level to show she's capable of it, I'm okay with it. I think she's at a point wrestling-wise where she very easily could succeed on the main roster, but I thought the same thing about a lot of women who are on the main roster not really succeeding right now. So who knows? I know last week we talked Elias. We got a little bit of a picture on Twitter after our show that exposed it seemed a little bit more feminine. A lot of the talk then came out that it was Ember. The body that we saw in that package today definitely looked a lot thinner than anything we've ever seen from Ember, unless they're using a body double just to fake us out and it's not actually the person and it's a big surprise. Body type wise, though, I think you're 100% right, Astrid. I think it looks very much like the kind of the size and the shape and the height and the build that Dakota has. Yeah, I'm interested to see what we're getting out of it. There's a lot of different routes they can go with it. I mean, maybe you're going to turn her into a gravedigger. Maybe you're going to turn her into something completely way off base from the gravedigging. But if it's Dakota, that's the big thing I want, is I just want to be invested in what she's doing and not feeling like she's like an anxious little kid on TV living her dream.
Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting. I'm very excited to see next week who they reveal as this. I remember the first time that they had all these promos that it ended up being Ember Moon. and we're all like, really? Like when Ember finally showed up on the motorcycle, I definitely didn't think Ember then. So yeah, maybe it could be, you know, almost a year to the day that Ember gets a new character reset or reshuffle. I'm excited for whoever it is. It's always fun to have these vignettes leading into somebody new, giving us a look into what's to come, and letting us play the Guess Who game.
We also haven't seen KLR in a few weeks now. I don't think we've seen KLR since these vignettes started either. So maybe they're giving KLR a little bit more character.
I would hate it if they repackage Kaylee Ray at this point. Like, she's perfectly packaged the way she is. I don't want her to have any kind of gimmick character. The only other person I could think of would be Mei Ying. Like, maybe it's a repackage of Mei Ying.
Or Scarlet, maybe.
Scarlet?
Yeah.
We haven't seen her.
I could say Scarlet, possibly. Yeah. And that build, the black leather and that build, yeah, that could be Scarlet.
And their rumors are that she wants to wrestle and they want her wrestling. So maybe this is them bringing her to NXT to get in-ring training time on television to bring her up to the main roster at some point in the near future as an in-ring talent. We then got the Trick Mello promo backstage where they're looking for the title and they find the thing saying that they're going to have to find the open. I know they called it an open house, but I'm assuming it's supposed to be a haunted house because it's Halloween Havoc and you wouldn't have an open house for that. You definitely have a haunted house.
What would?
I mean, I don't know. Johnny loves his in the house gimmick. So
okay, it's Dexter. So
it is Dexter. It's not Johnny.
An open house for Dexter might just be Dexter's house, which is a haunted house, but he's holding an open house in his house.
Well,
and you get like a mannequin indie corpse bride hidden in a closet somewhere.
If by the way, with this going on from last year's, we need to get the continuation of the zombie referee and Cameron Grimes at some point next week. I will be disappointed if we don't have like Cameron Grimes hug the zombie referee or something.
Zombie ref, Cameron Grimes, Drake Maverick have to be part of this open house.
Yeah. We then had the LA Knight Grayson Waller match for the winner to be able to host Halloween Havoc next week. And we get the victory for LA Knight, which I think was must need. I think it was about the time where he needed to get some kind of a win. He'd been putting over a lot of young talent, and he gave Grayson a lot in this match, but I think he needed a big win. Cody, what about you?
Yeah, no, it definitely was a big win for him. I think it fits his personality better. I think Grayson could have been a fun host, but whose show is it? Well, Halloween Havoc is LA Knight's show, and it fits exactly with what he's been doing. It makes sense. I did think that finish got botched a little, where Grayson jumped up on the middle rope with his back to the ropes, like he was going to come off for something, but then he like lost his balance and he jumped down on his feet, and they immediately went into Knight hitting his finisher. That I feel like Knight maybe was supposed to catch him coming off into the finish or something, but other than that, I thought it was a fun match. I still think Grayson is very, very raw in the ring. He's got a lot of promise and a lot of talent to him, but he's still trying to put it all together in a lot of his matches. But again, another highly touted prospect that we're getting a lot of from NXT, and LA Knight's in it. And the other one I thought of was a couple weeks ago, we had LA Knight in the ring with Odyssey Jones, where the backstage promo happened, where Andre Chase came in and like threw the chair that hit Jones backstage. So that's four big names in a little over a month of 2.0 that LA Knight has got to wrestle against. And so it's about time he got a win over one of them. It's well-deserved. And I think we're probably heading to a point here where LA Knight is going to be someone that's at the top of the roster, whether it is Braun Breaker or Ciampa or somebody else that's holding that top title. I think Knight is really close to the top of the line for that title shot, despite not really winning a lot.
Astrid, your thoughts on Mr. L.A. Knight?
Yeah, I think from the beginning, I was expecting Waller to win the match, thinking like he'll be a better host to have somebody young and new of the roster be the host of the show. but at the same time, I thought LA Knight needs that win, so I'm glad he did win. I'm just like I'm interested to see how his character goes throughout the night as the host, compared, for example, to like Shotzi, because I am gonna be Shotzi as a host this year though, for sure. But yeah, I'm just like I'm interested to see how it plays out. So we'll see how it plays out.
Do you think they're going to try to squeeze LA Knight into Shotzi's red leather outfit for the spin the wheel, make the deal in the main event?
Yeah, we'll have a mental picture now. Thank you very much.
Can we get LA Knight one of the bright green wigs to look like Shotzi's hair?
I mean, that sounds better than the attire part. So
we then, I think we had a promo package or two in between this and the main event.
All I have is that's where they announced all of the matches that were coming for next week.
Yeah.
And then we had our main event segment, which was Braun Breaker and Tommaso Ciampa versus grizzled young veterans. That was a better Zach Gibson this week. I'm proud of myself. Better than last week.
It's more of a grizzled young veterans.
Soon to be. But this was a fun match. It didn't get the time I thought it was going to get. I think that maybe the rest of the show ran a little bit long here and there. They got about 10, 15 minutes, almost no overrun, which was very surprising. NXT normally always gets about 5 minutes. It caught all of us off guard as we had to rush to start the show because
we were prepared to go live with the overrun, and then there's no overrun to go live with.
Yeah. But what were your thoughts, Ashford, on this main event and the what will be the main event next week with Braun Breaker and Tommaso Ciampa?
Yeah, I like the part it goes going back to like the promo, the interview they had, how they go like, oh, can they coexist? Because that's the thing going on now. So I like it was funny when they mentioned it. But going back to it, I like the part when Ciampa like looked at him and went like, "Can you move so I can do the knee part?" And he like told him to move, but he actually moved out of the way so he could do the knee. So I thought that was pretty funny. But going back to it, I'm excited to see how it goes. If Braun does win, especially having Spencer here next week, that's gonna be exciting. That's what I'm saying.
If Braun Breaker actually wins and we have Spencer on this show, now we're going to be completely honest here. I kind of asked Spencer as a joke, and I thought it'd be funny with the Wrestle Draft stuff to bring Spencer in for Braun Breaker. I thought it'd be great. I'd be like, if Braun Breaker wins, we have Spencer run in, it'll be fine. We're getting Spencer all of the show next week, which is going to be great. And if Braun Breaker actually wins, we're going to get Spencer in one of the best moods of his life because he's coming off Change the Game, which apparently was a great success. The crowd shot from the group of the Love Wrestling people there with you, Cody, with Parrish, with Goose, with Zach, and with Spencer himself. It was a fantastic photo. Wish I could have been there myself. I really do. I told Spencer that I've heard this Boston's a hell of a town. It's very easy to get to from all major airports and stuff like that. So,
That's not fair. I'm on the other side.
You can come on. Oh, come on. There's 30 airports in Florida that all fly into Logan. You're fine.
Now, do I want to go somewhere where they threw tea in the ocean, or do I want to go somewhere where I can sit in the ocean?
Okay.
I mean, you can do it. You can come. We have beaches here.
I have Disney.
You don't
Alex
have
Universal.
your wallet. Alex is offering us your wallet now, Ed. So
I was gonna say, apparently Alex is flying me and him up to the show next time when we change the game part 2. But that being said, Cody, what were you?
Photo. You zoom in on that photo, and those guys snapped that photo right as I was about to bust a gut laughing because I'm literally like.
But you look so cool in what I think is a leather jacket.
Yeah, no, it's very much a leather jacket that was bought in Minnesota, so it's an American jacket. We had an American at the show. Look at that.
And for everybody else who can't see the chat, we do have Alex Ecto Guy 87, who has a wonderful show called Love Wrestling Figures every Saturday morning. So go ahead and check that out. This week he had an episode about Kane. It's great because not only does he unbox the figure and you get to see all the stuff that comes with it, but he tells a great little story about whatever's going on in their career or time period around when the figure came out or when the figure is supposed to be doing. Like in this one, talking about Kane's World Heavyweight Championship run during his SmackDown run. So definitely go ahead and give that. Yeah,
because
and
I
because
can. We're just going to shout out Alex as a great guy too, because we know he's the host of our blowing off stream. He comes
Yes.
in on most of our Sunday brunches. He's usually a regular on our Saturday reacts. And he has his own channel where he plays whatever the hell kind of games he feels like outside of Love Wrestling. So give that man a follow. That man's working his backside off trying to help us with all of our wrestling content.
Absolutely.
But
And
that's
we
it.
have we're making him blush, which is great, which means we should obviously continue so that, not only one of us is blushing all the time. So there we go.
You know who else is working his backside off to make something successful, though?
Braun Breaker.
Tommaso Ciampa.
Yes, Tommaso Ciampa.
That man is working his backside off to make Braun Breaker successful, because I'm buying into Braun Breaker, and a lot of it is just the way he's portraying himself with Tommaso and the way Tommaso is taking him seriously. This match was a lot of fun. I liked the dynamic of them, like partners, but sort of reluctant, but not your typical reluctant partners. And it was almost backwards, where instead of like trying to get each other in the match, you started out the match with Braun wanting to do it all himself and saying, no, you stand on the ringside so you don't get hurt. And Tommaso just slapping him right on the back to get the tag in the ring. And then later in the match, I think it was Tommaso when he tagged out to Braun, slapped him across the face. And I said in our side chat backstage that, I didn't realize that Tommaso and Breaker were the new Creed brothers, because we've seen that so much from the Creed brothers slapping each other across the face to make their tags. GYV didn't stand out to me. This match was really about Braun and Tommaso more than anything else. GYV just happened to be the team that was put there, which isn't fair to GYV, because those guys are very talented in what they're doing. And it felt like this match just as easily could have been any jobber team that Braun and Tommaso were working against. I'm excited for the main event next week. I'm excited to see all the good things from Braun Breaker. I love Tommaso Ciampa. It's a fun storyline that's played out since 2.0 started, and I'm ready to get us to the next stage.
Yeah. So now that we've covered the show, we've gone through, we've talked about this week's NXT. We all found some really fun points, and we all talked about some really good things that happened. Like we all said again, it wasn't our favorite show. That being said, we spent an hour and 40 so minutes talking about how wonderful NXT 2.0 can be.
Wait, NXT?
And that's NXTP. Yep, I'm changing the name of the show. Thanks to Ika Manjiro. It's NXTP.
We need to have some on hand if we're going to have more bathroom segments.
Yep, we got to have some. That being said, I want to do, for the first time, we're going to go ahead and pick Halloween Havoc. We're going to have our own predictions here. So we're going to go ahead with the 4 matches that we know are happening. So we'll start with the tag team title match. Who wins? MSK
Which one?
or Imperium?
There's 2 tag team title matches.
That's why I designated with MSK and Imperium. So Cody's, what do you think? MSK or Imperium?
The fact that we're coming back to this after we just had this match 2 weeks ago, I am very, very much in the corner that I think Imperium wins this match due to interference from Walter.
There we go. You think Big Bad Walter's coming to the States, huh?
Yeah, might as well.
He already is, basically. I thought it was already confirmed that he's left the UK and been in the States. He never went back after the Dragunov match. So
this is true. All right, Astrid.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't see a point in MSK keeping the titles now, so might as well have Imperium win. So it'll be interesting to have that shift in there with the champions.
Interesting. I am, however, going to take the heels in this match. So I am going to go ahead and take MSK. Because I still want to see MSK versus Grizzled Young Veterans. I still want that match. I think it'll be great.
And make it happen with the titles on the line.
It could, but I want the titles on the line. All right. So now that Cody's called me out on it, we're going to go ahead and go to the other tag team title match, in the women's tag team title match. So Cody, which of the 3 teams do you think is taking the titles now next week?
I want it. I really, really want it to be Io and Zoe.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck it. I'm going to go for it. Io and Zoe. I say they retain.
All right. Astrid.
Toxic Attraction. Nothing else. Sorry.
I am,
Anything for Zoe and Io to be champions.
and just so we're clear, because it makes Astrid and I sound like terrible people. We like Zoe Stark. We think she's fantastic, but her and Io Shirai don't work together, and it's the wrong side of that Kyle O'Reilly Von Wagner promo.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I'm taking Toxic Attraction. I don't even know if they're going to be in the match next week, but like Cody, I agree that I think that the having Toxic Attraction holding all the titles next week in the women's division is a sight that might very well just happen, and I'm kind of excited for it. For the next match, we're going to start with Astrid. We're going to have Tommaso Ciampa versus Braun Breaker.
Well, I want to see Braun be champion, though. That would be exciting, fresh. And I want to see Spencer jumping in the stream while that happens.
So you're taking Breaker?
Yeah.
Oh, God. I'd already written down Ciampa for everybody.
You mean Daddy? Sure.
I do mean Daddy Ciampa. Cody.
That's what he wrote in the chat, at least, because we know he can't spell Ciampa.
I can. It's right, but I can spell it.
No, it took too long for Daddy to win Goldie back that Daddy's not losing Goldie to a newbie. Breaker's going to look good. Breaker's going to go over. But Ciampa's walking away with the gold, whether it's because of something like a Gacy and Parker interference, or Harland or Garland or whatever his name is that they gave him last week.
It's Ball of Lesnar.
It's Christmas time. He can be Garland for all I care. But actually, I think the fact that we had the Gacy thing involved in this story at some point, I think it's a good way to make Braun still look strong and move towards a Braun Breaker Joe Gacy feud to let Ciampa still hold the title while the younger guys still get a lot more experience. I don't think you put the title on a Breaker right now, a month after his debut.
Not quite yet, and I agree. It's got to be Daddy Tommaso Ciampa retaining the title. There's still so much for him to do with so many of the bigger names. It's been great to have a younger guy like Braun Breaker in this match, and to have Ciampa pushing a new younger star. But I think we're going to start getting into the rhythm of we're going to have the main event scene be these kind of leftover guys from NXT's old day, the OG era. And I think we're going to start seeing Pete Dunne come back. And we're going to see guys like Kyle O'Reilly come back. And we're going to see guys like LA Knight get back into this. Cameron Grimes is still right there, ready to go for a title match. So I think Tommaso Ciampa is the perfect
What's happening with Grimes' dating life? Why did we not get Grimes today?
I don't know why we didn't get a Grimes dating update. I am kind of upset about that. Hopefully, maybe we get Grimes on like a first date, like a Tinder date.
I want to see him swiping left and right when he learns how to use the app.
For those who have seen Legends of Tomorrow, there's also the app where you can swipe up and down because it's more intuitive. Again, that's a very niche joke for a small group of people that watch a really funny show.
Yeah,
but that's not a great show. It's a funny show.
Mm-hmm.
So then we got the last of our 4 matches that we know about, and we're going to go ahead and start with Astrid again, and we're going to go who's going to be our women's champion coming out of next week.
Tough one for me, but I'll pick Mandy because I feel like Toxic Attraction should stand tall, having all the titles at the end of the night.
And Cody?
Yeah, I called this one as soon as it happened, or as soon as it was teased the first time around that I think Mandy's taking it here. I think Mandy is the right choice to take the belt off Raquel right now. If Mandy doesn't do it, the only other realistic choice has to be Kaylee Ray, and they've done nothing with Kaylee Ray since her one debut match. She hasn't even been on TV, really, I don't think. So I'm ready for Mandy to be champion. I think we're probably getting the Toxic Attraction standing tall, but I'm not ready for Io and Zoe to lose, so I'm putting my faith and trusting that they still have more story to tell there. Also, just released 5 minutes ago on Twitter, next week on Halloween Havoc, there is a special Halloween Havoc edition of Lashing Out with Lash Legend.
Oh, that's going to be great.
She's going to find her producer.
Will it be the zombie producer who's been dead in the trunk for like 2 weeks?
Stop.
Mark comes back a zombie. That'd be great.
I think that's all they've got announced. The 3 title matches, LA Knight as the host, and then the Lashing Out.
It's going to be a fun show. I'm very excited for this. It's the first 2.0 big show since the debut of 2.0. It really, like Cody said earlier, it feels like a takeover, and I haven't had that takeover feel in a long time, and it's nice to get that back, especially since we have a show with a really good card coming up this Thursday on a show that if it were taking place anywhere else, I'd be super excited to do a show about it. And it's taking place somewhere where it's like, That being said, I as much as I don't want to, because I don't like, loving these shows, I'm watching that show because the card's too good not to.
I'm just going to throw this out there. I canceled my network last month, so I won't be watching Thursday because I have no way to watch Thursday. But I'm happy with NXT not doing takeovers for a while because it means I won't have to get an actual resubscription to the network anytime soon.
This is a very true point. This is a very good point from Cody for all of our Canadian fans. Those of us in the United States that are stuck with Peacock. I know. Peacock is, as Astrid said. That being said, speaking of big star Astrid here, we're going to go ahead and give her the big screen.
Oh, no.
And let her talk about all the wonderful things that are coming out with her tomorrow.
I went from having a light week to going everywhere. No, it's a joke, but I will be hopefully between 2 beards tomorrow if work allows it, hopefully. And then the other thing, I will also be in the JJ Power Hour this week as well. So check that out. I think it gets released on Thursday. And and I'll be back here on Tuesday again for NXT with Spencer and then Ed, and then we'll react to Halloween Havoc, which is supposed to be fun, I hope. But yeah, if I'm not here, I'll be on my Twitter, Astrid Pizarro, chatting about everything wrestling that I'm not here for, basically.
And Mr. Cody, what you guys got a big show going on tomorrow too, right?
Not tomorrow. No, next day.
Next Thursday.
But,
it
next
is Thursday,
day is this Thursday, not tomorrow. The next day, which is
my
Thursday.
week. I've been so confused about what day is what day.
Mine's for Thursday too.
Thursday night, right here on Love Wrestling, immediately following JPJ and Pluggo's Between Two Beards show, you will find myself, the franchise Matt, and the wonderful Melball on the NJPW Reacts for a special Thursday reactions, because the finale of G1 Climax happens at 2 a.m. Thursday morning for me. So we will be watching that show at some point during the day Thursday so that we were all caught up and ready to give you guys our reactions, our recap, our rundown of what has happened in the G1, who is your G1 31 champion, any other big news, big Bullet Club swerves, big chaos turns, big LIJ news, whatever goes down, whatever happens, we will be here, the three of us, breaking it down for you all. Also, some other big things in the works coming in the future, so keep it tuned. You can follow me at Cody Defoe on the Twitter. I will be announcing and revealing anything else I have going as soon as I get confirmation and 100% lockdown of the product. So give me a follow. Keep your eyes peeled to both my Twitter and at Love Wrestling CA. It will be revealed all there in due time. I will unfortunately not be back here for NXT next week, but 2 weeks from now, I will be back and I will give you some thoughts on the post-Halloween Havoc episode.
And of course, there's me. You can find me on Twitter. There we go. Yeah, right there. EdFries12584 on Twitter. You can find me moderating the Tom Colliehue Twitch channel as I always do, as we do all of our watch parties and our spoiler warnings, where you can get all kinds of great news and information before it comes out on some of the other sites. You can always find me at Love Wrestling CA. You can find me on multiple different shows. I believe I'm actually going to be available for a Saturday Reacts this week. So we're going to be talking all kinds of fun stuff. We'll be talking a little bit of Crown Jewel, the first SmackDown with the loaded up rosters. We got some NJPW final thoughts after, I've gotten a chance to see it probably on Friday or Saturday morning at that point where I'll be able to watch that show. But you can always find me here again next week. We'll be having the big man, the boss man, Spencer Love, as we do NXT next week. I believe that Power is going to be on a different place and time next week, but keep tuned to Love Wrestling CA for all the wonderful shows. Carl, thank you for joining us. It's been great. We love having you here. Join us anytime. Might have to have you on the show at one point too, because you are a fantastic Love Wrestling contributor as well. Thank you for joining us. This has been the team. Any final thoughts on NXT this week?
Just a question. Do you have that written in pen now that Spencer Love is coming? Because I thought he said pencil him in, and we all know his eraser gets pretty run down.
No. I just figure if I promote him enough, he'll feel bad and definitely show up for the show.
Like the Cool Runnings watch along, right?
No. Well, yes. I mean, it's the same idea, but he actually wants to do this show as opposed to Pluggo trying to force him to watch.
That's okay. I'm just waiting for him to watch so that he can call me out for calling him out.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, you gotta remember, we don't have the budget to bring in great guest stars like Carl or Mr. Warren Hayes. You know,
I mean, somehow Astrid managed to wrangle herself a budget for LJ. So.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, Astrid's a big star now. She's in that Between Two Beards and Josh Robinson community where she's, rubbing elbows with the big wigs of Love Wrestling here, where she's getting, Kayla.
I cashed in my Between Two Beards ticket. So.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, me and Cody are just sitting here, low end of the budget, just trying to make ends meet. Astrid's sitting here. I'm going to go on J&J Power Hour, which you can find on Josh Robinson's Twitter. Follow Josh Robinson 00 on Twitter.
Here.
Where you can...
I got a solution.
Oh, no.
Now Astrid's really Between Two Beards.
Yeah, she is. Just get ready for all these beards and stuff, because you're going to be there on Thursday night Between Two Beards. Oh, I love when this show goes off the rails. At least this week it took all the way to 157 of the show. What we got Carl saying here? That's because somebody else is blowing the budget. Yeah, I know it's because somebody else is always blowing the budget. Look, I've talked to Pluggo and asked him to be nice and give budget for the rest of the shows, and he says, no, we're the flagship show. We have to blow the budget every week.
I mean, this week, Love Wrestling in general, I thought blew the budget with all of the wonderful big-name guest stars we had on the Change the Game show. But
yeah. And speaking of Change the Game, if you want to hear from some of those people, remember to watch Mark and Friends this week on Thursday at around, I want to say noon or 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be a fantastic show. He's got a whole bunch of Change the Game participants and people who are surrounding the event. I know we can't say they're all wrestlers because they're not all wrestlers. I believe our lovely friend Alicia Atut was part of the people who are on the show.
Well, it's not every wrestler. I think that's what it was, that we can't say it's all wrestlers because it's not every wrestler. But I think the majority of it is a lot of wrestlers that Zach had managed to track down. But Thursday sounds like it's going to be a pretty busy day. We got that special Smark and Friends episode. We've got the Natural herself showing up on the J&J Power Hour. We've got a special Between Two Beards. We've got a special G1 Reacts. Just keep it tuned to Love Wrestling all day Thursday this week, because there's going to be something on this Twitch channel probably for most of the day.
I mean, hell, if that's the case, I might just live stream from the end of Crown Jewel all the way up to Between Two Beards. I mean,
we are counter programming Crown Jewel. Okay, that's what we're doing here. Ed.
I mean, it'd be great if we're counting programming it 4 or 5 hours after the show ends. But we're counter programming.
Nobody watches the Saudi show live.
People on the Eastern side, I'm gonna be able to watch it because I'll be working. So if I watch it, probably the next day if I do.
Alex is right. Love Wrestling going for ratings. Thursday. Check us out on Thursday. But just make sure that you follow all of the great Love Wrestling friends. We're again going to shout out our friends on RK Athletics 1. Go ahead and follow them on Twitter and all kinds of fun stuff. They do great work. Rich King allows us to put all this great content in. Follow Love Wrestling. Go buy stuff at lovewrestling.ca/shop. We've got stickers. We got fanny packs. We got mugs. The mugs are fantastic. Great hand feel.
I'm waiting for my mug because I'm drinking out of this.
Yeah, I have the mug over there. I had some hot chocolate in it this morning. It just hit the spot. It got my Love Wrestling feel in it. We got our YouTube channel at youtube.com/lovewrestlingca. We got our Twitch channel that you might be watching us on right now at twitch.tv/lovewrestlingca. Don't forget to rate this podcast to make us one of the #1 podcasts in Canada. Ratethispodcast.com/lovewrestlingca. All that fun stuff. We got one more comment. Let's see. Nope. It's just Nightbot plugging our Instagram. Well, you can follow us on Instagram at instagram.com/lovewrestlingca. I'll be honest.
Did we go to the YouTube? Did we talk about the YouTube? Because I know Spencer was really, really excited about YouTube because we are hoping to hit 1,000 YouTube subscribers by the end of the year. We're at 850 right now. If you're watching and not subscribed to the YouTube right now, go over to YouTube and give us a like, give us a subscribe, watch some of our amazing YouTube content. There's nothing else better than just getting that notification of some amazing wrestling content popping up on your YouTube video to watch when you wake up in the morning.
Yeah. And speaking of those lovely and fantastic things, I know that Legacy of is, getting ready to come to an end, but you got all kinds of Legacy of stuff that's, that we've had from season 1 that's all in there. We've got fantastic stuff from all of the live streams end up on YouTube as clip shows that you can watch them whenever you want so that they're on demand. And you can listen to the show go off the rails. We got Spencer Love interviews with all kinds of fantastic people. We got an interview with Roxy. I think we got an interview with Giselle Shaw, I believe, coming up soon.
There's a past one with Giselle. I think we might have a new one with Giselle. There's lots of big names in the works. He's been asking for comments and questions for some pretty big names coming down the line. Spencer's going to be interviewing here. And he's had Deonna Purrazzo. He's had Chelsea Green. He's had Giselle Shaw. He's had big names in both women's wrestling and indie wrestling as a whole. If you haven't watched Spencer's interviews, I am currently studying Spencer's interviews to try and be like Spencer Love. Okay? Go give that man some love.
Same.
And follow Spencer Love on Twitter. It's at Spenny Love. Because, it's always fun to follow the boss's tweets. And he's, he deserves it. He put on a hell of a show this weekend for Change the Game. And I know, I like to make fun that I didn't get to see it. But I've heard from people who were there. I've heard from Cody. I've heard from Zach. I've heard from Parrish and Goose. It was a fantastic show. It's not the only one. Look forward in 2020. We've got plans. We got big plans here at Love Wrestling for 2022 with all kinds of different stuff going on.
And there's an Astrid Ask on YouTube too, just saying.
Yeah, there's an Astrid Ask on YouTube. I mean, I didn't think we needed to promote the biggest star of our NXT anymore, but we'll go ahead and promote you one more time. And with that, I've been Ed. This has been Cody, and that's Ash. Nope, that's Astrid over there. And this has been. It's easier to do from the bottom. You just go this way. These people up here. This has been NXT. Have a great time.
Bedtime.
Yeah, Zach's never going to let us do our own show with the full night again. Have a good one. Bye.